What's up, everybody? Welcome back for another video. I apologize for the lack of consistent content that I've been putting out lately. I've been extremely busy in the shop. Greg's keeping me busy on the race team, but I owe it to you guys to get out here and make some more videos on a regular basis. So this past weekend, we took my dad's race car, his 1970 Dodge Challenger RT, to the racetrack for the first time after the winter when we did some front end upgrades to it. I've recently found out that all of the front suspension on the car was original to 1970, minus the front shocks. And needless to say, it has seen 54 years of abuse, the last 40 of that specifically at the racetrack. So very wore out stuff in the front end. If you guys are interested in more of like a tech type of video on exactly what we did, drop a comment below. Be happy to do a video about that. I actually got to get back under the car here coming up soon to make some tie rod adjustments. So if you guys are Mopar enthusiasts or you're just into two-wheel drive suspension, I've been learning a lot about that recently. It's quite a bit different than the 4x4 stuff that I'm used to. So if you want to see some more tech video like that, drop a comment below, but I'll give you a quick rundown on what we did. Basically, new adjustable upper control arms, new lower control arms that are adjustable, new strut arms, and that basically allowed me to get a lot more caster into the front end, help it steer a lot straighter, hopefully, and basically update everything in the front end to where it's not loose, we don't have a bunch of camber in or out one way or another, and then the last thing we really need to tackle on this thing is the fixing the toe situation, because the factory Chrysler geometry on the tie rod ends, they had no idea what they were doing in 1970. So if you guys are interested in something like that, I'll do that in the next video. But we were, or when I say we, I should say me, was really eager to get the car back to the track. I really didn't care about performance or ETs. I just wanted to see how the car reacted from landing from the wheelie. I wanted him to let me know how it drove down track, just to see what the changes of tightening everything up in the front and the caster, how much it affected the car. So this past Friday, there was a local note prep event, and you know, with my dad's race car, it's a bracket car, so we're not really into note prep stuff with it, but my buddies Brad and Jason over at Tin Soldier Race Cars, they just got their car Charlie Brown back together, wanted to go over there and check that out, and if you can get down a note prep surface with a bracket car, you got a pretty good bracket car to go to a bracket race with. It's really nice to not have to worry about changing track conditions when you're bracket racing and you're trying to run the same number every time. So I thought, hey, what the heck, we really just need to make a couple runs to see how the front end reacts. So let's go to Edgewater and let's check out Cincy Street Night's note prep event. So as soon as we get there, they start running cars down the track, and it is very no preppy. It had rained the week prior. There hadn't been a whole lot of sunshine on the track. They didn't scrape it like they used to do last year, so there's a lot of rubber on the track, and cars that were running 1150s were skating around out there. I was pretty nervous about that. The last thing I want my dad to do is to wreck his car, so I said, hey, let's wait a little bit, let's let a couple cars get down the racetrack. There's no point in this being all for nothing. So a little bit later in the evening, I felt like the track was coming around enough to where I didn't feel like he was going to go out there and crash the car. Radials and no prep aren't really, they don't really like each other. There's lots of guys that can get down on radials and no prep, but the car has to be set up for it, and my dad's race car is set up to run on some amount of prep. So I didn't have very many high hopes for this first run here, but we went ahead and drug it up to the starting line anyways to see what it would do, and it did this here. So yes, that was ugly, but I was pretty impressed because I wasn't even expecting this thing to move. I went 137, 60 foot there, and he ran it all the way through, which I was surprised because I didn't think we were going to make it 60 feet. And he went a 620, which isn't great, but for a 137, 60 foot, when the car is capable of going 126, it's capable of being a tenth quicker than 60 foot, that number was on par for our performance. So that gave me some confidence to where, hey, this isn't a total waste of time. We can go make another one. It did enough of a wheelie. I won't necessarily call it a wheelie, more of a weight transfer to where I wanted to check the front end and just make sure that nothing settled, where we didn't get a change in camber or a caster change or anything. So I checked that stuff out. We looked all good there. But more importantly, I asked him, hey, how'd the car drive? And he said that it drove like a Cadillac. He said he's never had the car drive so nice before. He said it drove so good that it felt like it was slow, and he couldn't believe that it went a 620. So that's what we like to hear. Slow, or I should say smooth, is fast in a race car. So the easier it is for the driver to drive, the less driver input, more consistent it's gonna be, better for bracket racing. So as at a no prep race, as the night goes on, the track is going to continue to get better, especially when they start running the big horsepower small tire cars. A lot of those cars run with a little bit of wheel speed. So as they're going down the racetrack, they're actually enhancing the racing surface. So I didn't make any changes for the second run. I wanted to just go up there and see what it would do with just a slightly better surface. And this is what we got. So really not much of an improvement there. Went 136 60 foot and went a 618 out the back, but that's okay. Repeatability is a big deal. And so now we know that as the surface increased, it really didn't change the car a whole lot. If you look at the video and you slow it down, you can see the car is really just throwing the front end up. It's not really having to work at it. You really want a race car to have to grunt, and you don't want it to just throw anything up. You don't want the front end coming up quick. You don't want it compressing really fast in the back. You want it to look like it's having to earn it out there. And so we had spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to get this thing more front end travel, how to loosen the front up. But for the first time ever, I felt like, hey, we actually need to tighten the front extension to slow the front down. He doesn't have the greatest shocks in the front. They only have 8 clicks of adjustment on them, so I didn't want to make a big change. So I just wanted to make 1 click of adjustment. So I just tightened the front extension 1 click, and that would be enough to let me know if my thought process was in the right direction or not. So we go back up there, and honestly, the track hadn't really gotten any better. I kind of do the old stick my foot. If you're ever at the track and you see me, like every run he makes, I'll walk up right behind him at the starting line and I'll stick my foot in his tire path and kind of twist it. And that's how I gauge like how well it's prepped. So my foot's kind of my torque meter. And to me, it felt the same as it did the last run. So I felt like it was still a pretty good comparison of what the shock adjustment would do. And so it went out here and did this. Close to where I was wanting it to be. That was a 134 60 foot. You've seen that the car didn't just totally throw the front end up and make the tires spin. It came up nice. When it did top the front end out, it was further down the racetrack, so it was easier for it to keep the tires stuck without as much prep there. So I was really happy to see that change went in the right direction. Ran it all the way out the back, and it went a 610. 111 mile an hour, pretty much always run 111. And once again, same report from the driver. Very happy with the way that it's driving. You can see it went a little left in that video there. A little left, it went a lot of left. That was a little bit of the driver input on that. The track, from no prep, it's easy for it to get a groove not consistent, right? So like if a bunch of cars go down first and they're kind of going one direction, a track will kind of have a groove it'll make it want to kind of push the car. London Dragway had this same deal last year before they redid the surface. The left lane, the cars went to the right and then they drifted back to the center because that's where the groove was. The crowns, every racetrack has a crown, so it's going to kind of follow that groove. So that's what it did there. Followed that groove. The driver let her go a little far there, but I suppose no harm, no foul. Obviously no personal best. We weren't after that. We really just wanted to see how the car performed after making all the changes, and mainly how it drove and handled in the shutdown and whatnot. So next thing we're gonna do is adjust that tie rod situation, and I will make a video explaining that to you guys, because I feel like any of you guys that have two-wheel drive stuff could really benefit from that. But if you want to see that, make sure you get in the comments below. And so at the end of the video here, I told you that Jason and Brad at Ensued Race Cars, they debuted Charlie Brown after they completely went through the whole car. There's not much of the car that's the same from the 4-link brackets forward. New power plant, similar to what they had before, but updated power plant. And they went out there and they won the Friday night event with their first couple of runs on the car. So enjoy some footage of that. That's all I got for this one, guys. I'll catch you on the next one.